not even only in the context of should I kill myself, but whether there's any point of me being here, whether if I was to disappear, would anyone care? If I was to die tomorrow, would anyone care? Is there any reason for me to be here? Should I Hey guys, welcome to Tickzon scheme, where we try to turn our hindsight into your foresight. Now, I've got a little story for you. Now, not too long ago, I went to A&E. For those in America, that's the emergency room, and for those who still don't know, A&E is accidents and emergency. And when I went there, so this was at Ealing Hospital, I went there, and if you've ever been to A&E, you go there, you meet the nurse, they register your name, and then they tell you to wait for assessment in Ealing Hospital. Urgent, you go to urgent treatment care or whatever, urgent care, and you go over there, you sign in, you do whatever you need to do, and then you come to the next thing, and then you have this window where this woman kind of just like pseudo gives you an assessment based on what you say is your issues, and then she will now assign your next step, whether you need to go and see the outpatient GP, or which is what I was going to see, or you need to go and you need to get escalated or whatever. Now, and then she told me to sit down, wait, they're going to sort out something. So I'm sitting down, and then you have to understand, I'm sitting here, the window's over there, the assessment window's there, so I'm really very close to it, not too far. And obviously these times, normally I'd have my headphones in listening, but again, it's A&E, wait times, you don't want to miss your name being called because they skip it, and ain't nobody trying to wait 2 hours for banter. So I took off my headphones and I'm listening, and just reading the book at that point in time. No, actually no, I was actually just editing the video. And a guy comes in and he says, I want to kill myself. And the way my ears perked up, like, it's not like I'm not trying to be a nosy person or whatever, but it's just like a concern that I had for this guy when he said, I want to kill myself. And I was telling one of my friends after, and he said he wanted to kill himself. And then, but what was interesting about this guy is that he said it so calmly. He said it so calmly, like, I want to kill myself. And he continued on to say, I think he mentioned that he had like medication that he was on and blah, blah, blah. But then he also continued to say that his mental state is deteriorating very rapidly. And I was just like, wow. Like, I was just like, wow, like, this guy just came in here to A&E and just said that I didn't know, to be honest, I didn't know people went to A&E to say I wanted to kill myself, or I want to kill myself, as opposed to wanted. And I was just there, and it's interesting because he reminded me that in terms of the mental health aspect of things, whenever people ask me, I normally say that there's a couple of aspects of your life that that are very important, and that's I'll normally say mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and I'll tell people all the other alleys. And but there's other aspects to that you need a balance, you need to fulfill to enjoy your life, which is also financially, sexually, and in your relationships. Those are all aspects that are all different things that some are for yourself and some are for your community. Now, the issue with your mental health aspect of it, as opposed to your physical health, which you can go to the gym, I carry 1-2, or I can go for a run, I can see I'm fine. That's my spiritual one. Look, you go to church, you go to the mosque, you go to the temple, you pray, you start getting in tune. You can measure that. You can kind of feel it for yourself. Relationships, if you're in a good relationship, the quality of relationships are increasing better. Emotionally, are you emotionally stable? All those kind of things. Financially, if you're content with where you are in your financial status, as opposed to everyone thinking that they need to be rich, if you're content in where you are and you have what you need, that everything is good. But when it comes to mental, it's a hard one, because most people don't pay attention to it, because it's not something that they can easily quantify. It's not like I can say, okay, I need to go to the gym, even though exercise is a very good way to deal with your mental health. It's not easy just to say, okay, I need to eat well. Your mental health is something that people somewhat neglect, and obviously it comes down to it because there's neglecting it in loads of different ways, because of there's taboos around it, because we're not informed about it. Some of us are have a mental health issue, and we don't recognize it. And again, it's one of the reasons why we don't speak out about it or even like put it out there, is because we don't want to upset the people around us that care about us. We don't want to be shown any pity. We don't want to be able to seem like we're fragile, vulnerable. We don't want to ever seem like we have a problem. And sometimes the funniest thing, the people who seem like they don't have problems have loads of problems. Now, having a mental health issue isn't a problem, because in my opinion, just this is my opinion, I don't think any of us are technically mentally well. Like, I feel like we're all just on a sliding scale of this thing that we say is mentally ill, and then if you're within this boundary, then you are mentally healthy. But if you're outside the outliers, that's what we consider mentally ill people. So it's interesting because, seeing that guy, it reminded me about how, he was saying he wants to kill himself. It reminded me of how common it is that people actually do think of killing themselves. Or maybe not just necessarily actually going to do it, but a lot of people have thought about it, not even only in the context of should I kill myself, but whether there's any point of me being here, whether if I was to disappear, would anyone care? If I was to die tomorrow, would anyone care? Is there any reason for me to be here? Should I just go? And then that leads you into a place whereby you may start doing certain things that, whether it's attempting to cut yourself, kill yourself, put yourself in a certain place. And the interesting thing about when you're in these moods of these of your mental health going down is that you normally do the opposite of what you actually need. Like, some people's loneliness is not a good thing. It does affect your mental health, but sometimes when when your mental health, you now start drawing back. What you actually may need is to interact with people, get outside, get some more hope into your life, and we then withdraw ourselves. We should be eating better because our food affects our mental health, but we start eating trash because we don't have the energy, we don't exercise, we don't do these different things, and we normally do the opposite of what we need to help ourselves. And it's interesting because when I saw that guy and I was looking at him and I was just like, rah, and it got me shook, but it wasn't that it got me shook that I was like scared for him. And obviously I was very concerned. Like, the guy was sitting in front of me, I looked at his hand wasn't shaking or anything, and I'm thinking, is there anything like I really want to see, I'm thinking in my head, what can I do to help this guy? I'm thinking, what can I do to help this guy? But then in the midst of thinking all of this and how calm, like, it was so calm, I called one of my friends, I was like, listen, this guy was so calm about it, but there was a level of respect. Like, I know, yes, he's mentioned that he had some medication and stuff like that, and he's come to a point, but the respect that he was able to just open up and just, like, he said it so calmly, that my mental health is deteriorating, I feel like I'm going to kill myself. And he just sat there just normally. I was behind him, I just looked at his hand, and he just got up calmly, looked at his face, there was no distress on his face, and I'm thinking, the respect and the mental strength to be able to get yourself in that position where you admit that, to recognize, to understand yourself enough to be able to just like bring yourself to have that conversation, to say it. Because it's interesting, when you start to try to understand yourself, you realize that you don't know yourself as well as you think you know yourself. And when you spend time with yourself a bit more and start to understand it, it opens your eyes to a lot of things. But then again, also it's interesting because it also recognized for me another thing, not just that we don't tell people because they care about, but this guy did one thing that most of us don't do when we have a mental health issue: ask for help. In this life, yes, we're on individual journeys, but also you don't have to do that journey by yourself. And he came to our hospital, and he got his help. He may not have completely solved whatever issue he had, because mental health is not one of those ones where it's like, you get a cut, put a little bit of a bandage or stitch it up. But it's one less soul that didn't need to die that day. And if you ever find yourself in those moments, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel your mental health is playing up, or you're feeling down, you're feeling lethargic, all these kind of things, if you ask me if I've ever been depressed before, to be honest, my answer is probably yes. I've been depressed. Not probably yes. The answer is yes. I've been depressed before. The question of then, if you give me the follow-up question of whether I asked for help, probably not every time. But well, not in the past, I would say, as opposed to not every time. You know, um, you don't ask for help because of different reasons, and because you don't want to feel like you're fragile, you don't want to feel like you're this, you don't want to feel like you're that. But when you need help, ask for it, because the issue that we sometimes have is that when we are feeling some type of way, we get annoyed that people don't know we're feeling a type of way. But I won't know unless you say. And if every time I ask you how you're doing and you say you're fine, then some people will take fine as that. Ultimately, as well, for you guys, if you're talking to a friend, listen. If you ask somebody how you're doing and they say fine, you need to ask how they're doing again. If you know me personally, I never leave you at fine. You say how you're doing, you say fine, I ask you the question again, how you doing, how's life treating you, what you been up to, how's things been, how's this thing, and I've asked you like 5 times the same question, because fine, that's just an automatic response. And when you hit somebody with fine, sometimes a lot of people are just there waiting to see whether you care enough to try and probe. Yes, we're not mind readers, but if you have people you care about in your life and you're concerned, do ask the questions, but make sure that when you ask the questions, don't convey it with any pity, don't look at them in a way that they feel less, because that's what holds people back from talking, and it's hard for people to be vulnerable. And so this guy is now gone, and he's shown. It's interesting because when we talk about mental health, a lot of times people feel mentally weak by admitting or saying that they need help, but it's actually the opposite. The mental strength to be able to have come out and said that, to come out and do that, and save this life ultimately, as opposed to just suffering in silence, is amazing. We mentioned depression in a year like this. In fact, every year, the rates of suicides has gone up. They've gone up pretty much every year in every gender. I think in 2018, and I believe the stats are still the same, thousands of people committed suicide, 3/4 of that being men. A lot of them being men, and as men, we don't talk about it too tough. I know there's been World Men's Day not too long ago, Mental Health Day, and we're coming to a point where we're trying. But depression leading to suicide has been the main thing. Women are more likely to get a common mental health disorder, being anxiety, or any of those other ones. Mental stress is also a mental health disorder, and so on and so forth. Suicides are going up, mental health issues are going up, and a year like this, especially with how alone people have felt at times, because remember, there's a difference between being alone and feeling alone, and feeling alone is actually the issue. You can be in the midst of people and feel alone, and human beings were never meant to be alone. So ultimately, the message in this video, guys, is take care of yourselves. Do your best to recognize where you are mentally and make sure you take the proper steps to make sure that you protect your mental health. That's by eating right, by exercising, doing loads of different things, surrounding yourself with good vibes, remove yourself from bad environments. There's loads of different things. If have sex, is do anything you need to do to keep your mental health in check. Go to the gym, do all those things. And for the people that are around you, friends and whatnot, check up on them. Reach out. If they're living alone, reach out, check on them, and actually check on them. Don't just go over there and hit them with the little 1, 2, how you doing? Say fine. Oh, I checked mom, he's fine. No, actually do check, because yes, people are people. We're complicated creatures, but again, sometimes we self-sabotage because we don't know how to ask for help when we need it. So sometimes you might need to be someone's guardian angel, and hopefully somebody else will be yours. But in the meantime, we work on ourselves and we aim to make ourselves better and live our best life in the best way possible. So thank you for watching the video. Obviously, if you want to hit like, subscribe, all that, that's up to you. But ultimately, have a blessed day. Take care of yourself and understand that you matter, you're worth it, and if you were to go tomorrow, we would care. Thank you.